How you feeling?
Good. Yeah, it's 8 a.m. in the morning for me, so waking up.
Yeah, yeah, it is a bit early. Where are you at again? You're in Australia somewhere?
Yeah, Melbourne, Australia.
Melbourne, Australia. How are things going over there?
Um, I mean, the world in general, not great. And
Yeah,
also the Australian government, not a great part of that. So I think that generally people are feeling it. I'm feeling it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, this is interesting. It's a weird time where I can talk to you on the other side of the world and we can talk about our experiences. How wonderful. It seems like everywhere right now is going through what you just described, which is the structures in place that we have placed before us, the patterns that we use to interact with ourselves, the world around us, all of this is proving to be one, illegitimate, two, unsustainable, and everybody's feeling the consequences or the weight of it. So it sounds like something similar going on over there and some pressure for change, maybe?
Definitely. And I think just a real disconnect between what I and everyone I know am feeling, and then how our government is responding, and
Hmm.
like the heaviness of that, and
Yeah.
the contrast between, say, looking on the internet, seeing everything happening in the world, and then I'm a yoga teacher. So it's like, oh, do I share about my class today? Feels like I don't even want to be online at all. So
Mm.
there's definitely that.
What's this disconnect that you're talking about? So I think I understand what you're saying. You're talking about like the messaging,
I
this,
just talk about like valuing humanity and
yeah.
people's lives and our
Hmm.
world.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's seems to be a thing. I don't think that I mean I see this too. It's like the disconnect in terms of destroying the things that we're dependent on to survive. And then seeing the consequences of this all around us, like the increasing, I would describe it as almost psychosis. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a heavy time.
it really is. It really is. Yeah. And then it seems like the messaging too, like here in the States, I mean, a- a- almost everybody that I know, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people who are not struggling like financially right now, but they're struggling in other ways emotionally with relationships and all these other things. They're all struggling. And then you see the politicians, the representatives, the influencers, the people who get on their soapbox and talk about these things. And they're just saying, no, everything's good. Strongest economy ever. Go back to sleep. Everything's fine. And I think people are starting to be like, yeah, no, that's definitely not what I'm experiencing.
Yeah, I think that is true. And then combined with that, the flood of AI that's on our screens at the moment as well. Like, I don't think anyone I know is trusting what they see online or in the news.
Yeah. See, that's really important is before this AI thing, and this has been around for, whew, I don't know. I remember when Trump lost the election or when he was losing the election going into 2020, Russian Times News put out this video where it was Trump joining RT and it was an AI video. It was totally fake, but I couldn't tell that it was fake. I mean, they had to tell you it was fake. And that video was banned in the United States. You can't look that up anymore. And this was back, before the talk of AI and all this fake media was coming around. So yeah, it's like the information that's out there is so disconnected and in such a contrast from lived experiences right now.
And then we also do see like war filmed from
Yeah.
an individual person's phone, and
Hmm.
that reality in a way
Yeah.
that we haven't really seen before as well. And it's all in the mix.
Hmm. Did you ever
Like
see
you're
the
not
movie Wag the Dog?
I know that movie, yes.
Yeah, with Woody Harrelson, Dustin Hoffman, Robert De Niro. Oh man, that was such a good movie. Brilliant. So many good people in it, but like few people know about it. This idea of using the media to spin a narrative to get people distracted and essentially manufacture their consent for things.
Yeah.
And so they show you like all these wars that are totally fake and scripted and all using this to justify all this shady underground stuff that they're doing. It's like, yeah, again, what can you trust anymore? Because people are over here arguing like in favor of the war, just like it was with Iraq. Like, oh, we need to liberate people. We need to save them. Or send some freedom, bomb them to oblivion. And then there's other people who are still saying no. And it's like, wow, we're coming back around to this again.
Yeah, and this one's complicated as well because it does seem like uh, that was a brutal regime and um, who like killed and tortured many Iranian people.
Yeah.
But this isn't the answer either.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look at all the regimes around right now. I mean, England has what is the stat like 12,000 people in jail right now from social media posts. You had people doing solitary confinement for, a year for social media posts. Solitary confinement, like that's torture.
Oh my gosh,
Um,
Australia has laws that children as young as 12 can be tried as adults. And in one state, even a life sentence for rioting, which I could absolutely see being applied to going to a protest or something like that. And you know it's going to be disproportionately applied to non white kids. Yet we have social media laws that say that you can't access sites like Instagram until you're, I think it's 16 or maybe it's 18. So it's like, how are you tried as an adult, as a 12-year-old for one thing, and yet everyone has to put Face ID in to look at the internet because they want to protect kids, apparently. It's
yeah,
wild.
this whole thing is getting wild. It really comes down to like who's benefiting from it. And almost everything that's changing right now is leaning towards more authority, more centralized authority, going to governments, going to companies, going to power structures. And as you see, they clearly do not have anybody's best interest at mind except for their own. I guess this goes back into the destroying things that are the environment that we're in, the things that we're most dependent on. This is the world we live in. Which I guess this is what I was really excited about talking to you today is because you're doing something that one I've always found very inspiring. Anytime we're using like our creative potential, this idea of like ideas and constructs and channeling it into a physical reality, whether it's creating something that's here, creating this podcast, creating this conversation, or expressing yourself in an authentic way of channeling who you truly are through something like martial arts is something that I've always been really passionate about, or other forms of physical expression. So when you reached out and said, hey, I do all of these wonderful physical things and I'd like to talk about it, I said, yes. So I'm really excited to see. We got all these problems that are manifesting around the world right now, so many people with lack of direction, misled in so many ways, and funneled into these channels of conflicts and war and disconnection and oppression and authority. And yet, on the other hand, we still have all these really unique ways of channeling unique individuality, authenticity, expressing ourselves and creating places to grow, learn, develop, and become something new. So, tell me a little bit about what it is that you do. Introduce it.
Okay, so and sorry to start off your podcast on such a depressing note. So, yeah, my name's Jo Stewart. I have a little yoga studio called Garden of Yoga, and I've just written a book called Eight Limbs of Aerial Yoga, Adapting Practice for Accessibility, Neurodiversity, and Physical Support. So, I'm a yoga teacher. I've been teaching yoga for about 20 years and aerial yoga for less time, like maybe 12 or 13. And I'm really all about giving people a space to move in a way that feels good in their bodies, using that movement as a way to work with the mind, and as you're saying, to express themselves. So, my belief is that one of the reasons why there's so many different styles of yoga, so many different philosophies, is that we're all really unique individuals. So we can use this practice in a way that works for us. And I believe it's always been a part of yoga history that the practice does evolve, and it's less about a prescriptive set of instructions and more about like maybe learning from your teacher, but also learning from nature, learning from your own body, and really embodying this practice and making it something that helps you understand yourself more, helps you understand the world more, and also helps you find the energy and the clarity to make a positive impact in the world.
Yes. Yes. So you're talking about a practice here, and it's not just a practice of yoga, it's really applying principles of various practices and creating a way of living life. A practice is central to pretty much everything that I do too. So walk me through it. What is this? What is a practice of yoga that you talk about or that you have for yourself?
Okay, well, I use Patanjali's framework of the eight limbs of aerial yoga also as the framework of my book. And asana, the physical movements, is just one aspect of that. There's also yama and niyama, which is ethical principles to help live a fulfilling and meaningful life. And then there's also dhyana, dhyana, and samadhi, which is concentration, meditation, and then like integration or bliss. And I believe that those higher states, they're not necessarily something we can put in an order for and access. It's more like we can just create the conditions to help us open up into those states of mind. And so for me, working with the body is a really helpful way to do that. And one thing I love about the aerial hammock is it gives a lot more options. Like I started out practicing yoga on the floor, and that can be great. And um, I still do that almost every day. But say if you're working with like knee issues or wrist issues, a lot of those positions are just harder to get into or not accessible at all. So I also teach chair yoga, which is a way of bringing the floor up to meet you where you're at. But the hammock adds another dimension to that because the chair is solid and stable, but the hammock can unfold and fully support you. You can lie in it like a hammock, and that feels very cocooning and very relaxing. From there, you can move your spine in all directions, and it's almost like the feeling of moving in water because you have that support and that fluidity. You can like access more freedom through your movement. It feels really good. You can also use the hammock to wrap around your hips and hang upside down, and that also feels really good for your back. You can hold it for standing poses, but there's all these other movements you can do as well, like inversions is one, but spinning and swinging and other ways of moving that means you can work with your vestibular system that just gives you another pathway towards regulation, another way to work with the mind.
Okay. So when you said that this opens up another dimension and then you connected it to water, that was the exact same thing I was thinking of right there. So we're very much two-dimensional beings in terms of space, like we move in basically two directions. But the third dimension, while we have access to it, we don't really utilize it very much. And I started free diving and I swim pretty much every day now. And when you're in the water, you really have access to the third dimension. You can go up and down and just move all around like gravity is completely different. So you get this whole range of physical sensations, experiences that I don't get when I'm on the land. And of course, this plays into, of course, metaphysical, like energetic thought patterns, what I'm doing with emotions, things like that while I'm in the water. So I'm curious, when you're up in the air in this higher, I mean, not like higher dimension as in like you transcend things, but like literal high, you're up away from the ground. What are some of the things that are happening? What are you experiencing when you're talking about how this plays into mental processes or even emotional processes?
Well, it can be really interesting because there's the full spectrum of being completely cocooned and supported where you feel really safe
Hmm.
and very much going to the edge of your comfort zone, where, especially if you're not used to being up high in your other daily activities and you've climbed up the hammock. It can be like an adrenaline moment, and that can be empowering, or that can be scary, that can be intimidating. But there's a lot of steps along the way. So it can be a safe way to challenge yourself, to expand your range of possibilities, to maybe do things that you didn't think were possible. Like, I have never done a backflip without the help of my hammock, but flips are an accessible movement in the hammock. Some people may or may not consider them part of yoga, but they can be a pathway of movement from one pose to another one. And it can be a safe way to just like explore different movements in your body. Sometimes it can be an exercise in patience because you do have to build up, say, your grip strength and even just your emotional capacity to try new things and to integrate
Hmm.
how you need to organize a movement. So sometimes that won't happen
Hmm.
the first time you try it. Sometimes you've got to do a progression of movements to help you get comfortable with it, and then you might
Hmm.
feel ready to um, get to that pose that could be at the end of that sequence. Like, I try not to have a hierarchy with movement. There's not one movement that's better than another movement. It's just like what your brain and your body need today.
Hmm.
Um, Part of that as well is if you're working with chronic pain, I can I share a metaphor?
Please.
Mosley describes it as the pain orchestra or the tune of pain. So, say everything in your body is functioning optimally. The orchestra of the mind and the body can play all these different tunes. They can improvise, they can play high, they can play low, they can play fast or slow. There's infinite possibilities. When there's pain in the body, that message is firing in your nervous system, and it can become a feedback loop so
Hmm.
that that nerve continues to play the tune of pain when maybe the actual physical injury might have healed. Or maybe it's a condition in your body that isn't going to heal, like a chronic condition, but we can give that nerve something else to do, a different sensation message. So, one of the things that being in the fabric can do is it means that we can avoid the movements that turn up the volume on the pain tune that trigger that response. But maybe we could do a different type of movement with that part of the body and send a different sensation message. It's kind of referred to as the pain gate theory. So if there's a sensation message flowing through, it dials down the pain message. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the pain is gone forever, but you have a different sensation experience in your body at that time. And that can be a different nervous system state. So rather than feeling pain and the stress that goes with that, you might experience pleasure or just a different sensation. And that gives you the space to relax within that movement. And then afterwards, you might also feel more relaxed and have a better sleep that night. So I do really believe in the power of different movement possibilities as a way to work with the mind.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, processing patterns, so deeply entrenched patterns of chronic pain, let's say, and then creating something new. These are crucial steps or outcomes that we would look for in terms of building a practice. When you're talking about the actual steps of building the practice, I'm going to go back to that for just a moment. It sounded a lot like, I mean, anytime you're learning any skill, you have to start at the beginning and you have to go through the discomfort. You have to push yourself and challenge yourself to learn whatever it is that you do. If you want to learn how to play guitar, you got to learn to move your fingers a certain way. You got to get used to the feeling of steel or nylon strings digging into your skin, right? You got to build calluses, you got to build muscle memory, and then you build the progression to start to do it. But you have to go through that discomfort and then stacking wins on top of one after the next, where you say, I'm going to challenge myself to do this. And then I'm going to put in the effort and time to do it. See, this is so important. This getting comfortable with the discomfort and challenging yourself and stacking up opportunities to overcome obstacles of things that you once couldn't do. And I find that the vast majority of people that I work with, overwhelming, come in and they want the immediate fix, even if they say they don't want it, or they want they want to do the work, they want to build the practice, so on. There's a part of them that always wants to just go straight to it. Give me the magic pill. Just give me like the I'm going to download the ability in the Matrix kind of deal. But here you're again, you're talking about something very important, and whether it's with a martial art, or learning guitar, or with acro yoga, this idea of a commitment to some sort of progress to a specific end, and then going through the process. Doing this, I think, enables us to make so many changes in our life. Is this kind of what you're talking about in terms of a major part of then going into rewriting the patterns of being in pain, for instance?
Yes and no, because I
Hmm.
do think that if you come in and you have like a persistent pain condition, it just kind of depends on what your capacity is on the day. So often I would start with something that would actually feel like the instant gratification, like something
Hmm.
that feels good as
Of course.
soon as you do it, so that you settle into a more relaxed state of being. And so you feel safe to challenge yourself. Something that I do when people arrive, most of my classes, I will skip this movement if someone is really sensitive to motion sickness, but we start lying in the hammock. And then I do all the different types of spine movement. So I start with the hips with a gentle little side to side move. And a lot of this is about proprioception. So it's a chance to feel into the left side and the right side of your body and how your
Hmm.
lower back is feeling that day. And then I move up to rib cage and shoulders, side to side there. You feel your breath in a different way as you do that. You feel how your upper back is feeling, your neck is feeling. Then I roll over onto the side and flow into flexion, so curling into a little ball, and extension movements. And again, you get to feel how your back feels flexing and extending. And it flows on from there. And these are movements that pretty much everyone can do. If you have a particular issue with your back, you might skip one of them, or you might adapt it so you can do it in a way that works for you. And it gives you the chance to really connect your awareness into your body, because like while you're saying, like, it's really valuable to extend your range of possibilities and to gradually challenge yourself in small ways that form a bigger whole. But I feel like a lot of people are coming to me at the end of the day where they might be a bit depleted from their work and from the world. And so I definitely start with the feel good stuff and then work towards the stuff that can be more challenging. But absolutely, like, honoring everyone's individual capacity to like move in ways that maybe they didn't think were possible, to do things that maybe they didn't think were possible, and just hopefully, I feel like this is my job as a teacher, to break it down into small enough steps that all of the steps feel achievable. And then over time, you see the bigger picture. And it might not necessarily be the bigger picture of a particular movement. Like, that might not be the goal. The goal might be trusting your body, or the goal might be feeling strong, or finding the ability to like find calm when you're doing something that feels kind of intimidating and kind of intense.
Yeah, finding a lot of feelings, it sounds like, whether they're physical feelings or emotional feelings. So it seems like what we're talking about is this is a great tool to help people reconnect to their bodies, to their feelings, to really who they are, a bigger part of who they are.
Absolutely. And I think it's a really, like, the fabric itself gives an extra tool to do that. Like, I work with quite a lot of people who have PTSD or are neurodivergent, or actually people who have body image issues as well, who find interoception, feeling into their own bodies, really challenging. Maybe it's not possible. Maybe it feels like triggering or stressful for them. Maybe feeling into their body isn't a safe place for
Hmm.
them to be. But what I have found is many of those people can feel into the fabric. So you can feel into the movement of the fabric. You can like hold it with your hands. It gives you something that it's like a bridge into your body. And when I did my trauma informed practice, it was really just the floor. Like, you could feel into your body, or you could feel into the floor, or you could like listen to sounds or something else. But the fabric just gives you it's much more interesting to feel into it, and there's a lot more possibilities. So I've found that it can be a really helpful way to develop that interoceptive awareness in
Hmm.
a way that doesn't necessarily feel like activating.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I think that, well, I mean, we were kind of talking about this earlier, this disconnect. And here's another disconnect right here is most people have become disconnected from their feelings and from their body, and for a wide range of reasons, like it's not safe. And I mean, how does a feeling in your body that's designed to help you survive become something that's not safe? Well, this always originates in trauma, especially early in the lifetime. So we become disconnected from it, and then reconnecting from it can be very challenging, especially if we don't know what to do with the feelings that are there. I mean, this is one of the things that I work with just about every single person coming in with is they don't know how to recognize, identify, or feel their actual feelings. And then when they do, it's overwhelming and dangerous. And the relationship is, I don't like it. I want it to go away. So a big part of this is learning how to recognize these things and then building a relationship with them where we can actually engage and participate with them. And this is exactly what you're describing, it seems like. And you're using this. What is the fabric, too, by the way? I've been wanting to know that. What is it made out of?
It's the same fabric as they use in the circus for the aerial silks, like the two
Hmm.
panels that hang down. So it's
Yeah.
actually just nylon. It's called tricot. So
Okay.
it's yeah, just a thick synthetic fabric.
Uh huh.
It's not stretchy.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, having something to engage with, I can see how this would be useful. When you mentioned just a minute ago, this starting with the smaller things, yeah, this is crucial. Um, like if you're going to learn how to play piano, I mean, whenever I learned how to do instruments, I always wanted to go straight to playing, a complex song that I liked. I didn't realize how complex or difficult it was. But it doesn't make sense to go, you're going to pick up piano and you're going to go straight to playing, Mozart symphonies in their totality. We have to do steps and progress. And it seems like, in this case, if you're introducing somebody or they're recovering or reconnecting with a feeling that's there, like their back or neck hurts and they're depleted from the day. And then they come in here and they say, oh, wow, the things that I've been doing all day are really taking a toll on me. So there's this new level of awareness that might not have otherwise come.
Yeah, and I try and start with really simple choices. So
Hmm.
with the warm-up sequence that I mentioned, as people are moving, I give them the option to keep the movement really small and really gentle, or to go into something that feels a bit bigger and a bit stretchier, or to add a hold. Because if you're holding in a side bend movement, one side of your body is actively lengthening and the other muscles on the other side are engaging to help you be in that shape.
Hmm.
And they're very low stakes decisions. So you could try all of those things and just try stay with the one that feels the most enjoyable in your body that day. And my hope with that kind of check in is you start with those really small, oh, just what feels best in my body today decisions. And then as you move through the class and as you go into more complex movements, you've laid the groundwork to help you choose other options later. And I
Hmm.
think one thing that helps with the fabric is everyone is kind of in a cocoon. So you don't see the people around you. So
Hmm.
sometimes when you offer an option in a yoga class, people just go for what seem so often people just go for the last thing that you say, or sometimes where there is kind of a hierarchy in movement, people go with what they feel like is the proper way to do the pose, which I really try and dismantle that kind of hierarchy because there's no best way to move. It's what feels best for you. But I think not having a room of people around you and that subconscious pressure of trying to do the same thing as everyone else can
Hmm.
really help you come into that inner state and feel into what you actually need at that moment.
The evaluation comparison. Yeah. Yeah, cocoons are these wonderful protective little barriers where transformations occur. So that's a really nice connection of creating that with the hammock. I want to ask you, so you said you've been doing yoga, I think you said 20 years, and you've been doing aerial yoga for about 12 years. Is that right? Or have
That's
you been
right.
teaching
That's
12
how
for
long I've been
12 years?
teaching yoga.
How
So
long have you been doing yoga and aerial yoga?
I've been doing yoga since I was about, well, when I was about 6, I
Hmm.
started ink brush painting, sumi painting, and that has a lot of Zen philosophy in that practice. And my painting teacher was also a yoga and meditation teacher. So I've always had that way of using creativity into meditation from when I was a
Hmm.
kid. And I started, I studied art, and it was a bit of a shift because it took something that had always just been something I'd done because I loved it and there wasn't any pressure associated with it into like a whole nother world of pressure at art school
Hmm.
and questioning myself. And I went to a yoga class out of that and it really helped. And so that's when I was 18 and I'm 45 now. So I've had that adult lifetime of practicing yoga. And yeah, I just kind of realized that the life of an artist is pretty hard and very solitary a lot of the time. So I thought, like, I loved yoga. And I was like, well, like, this seems like it could be a good, fulfilling day job that I could do part time and have lots of time to make art. And then once I kind of got into yoga teacher training and started teaching, I was like, oh, like, I should focus on yoga as my vocation, really, and then shift art into being the part time thing that I do, like for myself and for fun, and like take the pressure off that. Because actually, I can tap into a lot of the same state of mind, the creativity and um, like the flow state, both practicing and teaching. So it fulfilled a lot of that, uh, like what my brain was hungry for in that way. But also, like, I actually feel like I can make a positive difference in individual people's lives. And I actually, like, in my artwork, worked a lot with themes of body image and like feminist themes and technology and the body. And I kind of felt like, oh, I can make art about this stuff, or I can actually help to provide a space for people to feel better in their own bodies, but directly
Hmm.
rather than through
Yeah.
metaphor in an artwork.
Hmm. Yeah. I want to know. I've been wanting. I've been thinking about this when you keep talking here about your process and your practice, and you got into it just for a moment there when you started talking about the different mind states, the meditation involved with this practice, and then getting into a flow state. What does this look like for you? Can you tell me more about this? And let's get. I want to try and understand what your practice looks like, what you do, and what your experience is like in it.
So when I'm doing my own thing, I actually start with a lot of self massage. Like, I feel like that's a really good way for me to shift focus from the outside world to the inner world. And I usually use a foam roller or a ball, and it gives me lots of information about my body. Like, I notice the places that are feeling tight, I notice the places that are feeling sensitive. I notice whether that's a day where like a stronger sensation is what's taking me towards release, or if it's a day where I just need to be really gentle with myself.
Taking
So
an inventory, so to speak.
yeah, a check in. Yeah. And
Okay.
like definitely self massage turns up the volume on areas that might have been tense in the background for a
Hmm.
while. So
Sure.
I find that very helpful. I do the same warm up sequence that I do in my classes. So just spine movement in the hammock. And then I go from there. So if I'm like, oh, the back of my body is feeling tight, I'll go into stretches for my hamstrings, for my hips. I just let what's feeling good in my body guide me on to the next thing. Sometimes I might have seen a movement online and I'll think that, oh, like that looks fun. So I'll reverse engineer it for my class. Like often, aerial yoga videos are pretty intricate and pretty complicated and look more like something that you'd see in the circus. And like, I get that. Like, that's a beautiful form of expression. And for that person, like, that could be their practice. That could be what's feeling great in their bodies that day. Normally, for me in my classes, I'll pull one or two movements out of that flow and then I'll play around with that and work out the steps that I might need to warm up the particular muscles to get to that place, where I might want to go from there. Sometimes it's about hammock placement, so just what other movement pathways are possible from there. Or sometimes it's like, well, if that was a big back bend, now I want to do a neutral pose, like hanging upside down to decompress my spine and then into a forward bend. So I guess it's like play through movement, but with the extra layer of, is there anything here that I could bring into class? Is there anything here that other people might enjoy?
Hmm.
And when I found something like that, I film myself because I'm not good at taking down notes to remember things. And if you're in that state of exploration, it's often not in the right state of mind to remember the steps along the way. So I find it quite helpful to film myself. And I just realized that what I've just described is every yoga teacher's conundrum of how your own personal practice bleeds into preparation for class. So that happens.
Yeah.
I also do.
I noticed that too just a moment ago because we were talking about your practice and how you get into these meditative and flow states, and it flowed right into the preparations for class. So that was the same thing that I was
Yeah, that
noticing. Could
happens.
Yeah, there's good awareness there.
I also hula hoop for fun, and
Hmm.
that is something that I don't teach deliberately. So that is definitely something that stays in the realm of my own practice and flow. I also find music is really helpful and powerful for me. And I actually have like a really amazing musical setup in my studio right now where it's called the Plant Wave. So it is the songs that my plants sing. I stick two electrodes onto the leaves of the plants and it reads the electrical signal changes between the leaves, turns it into a sound wave, sends it to my phone, and I can output it through different instruments on my phone. So I have this ever changing soundtrack. My studio is full of plants. It's called Garden
Okay.
of Yoga for a reason.
So
And
your studio is full of plants. Is this? Do you have? Is how? I'm curious. So you really got my attention there when you started talking about your relationship with the plants. Can we pause just for a moment and go into that? Because I really want to know. You're talking about using music that you're making from your plants. Well, more accurately, that you're translating from your plants. It sounds like your plants are making it. You're listening to it. How is your relationship with plants playing into your practice here?
I feel like it's just a chance to connect to nature.
Hmm.
And the plants have different moods. So when the light is bright, they are a lot more active, but it's never the same song. So that's I guess when you know a song, when you know a tune that's playing, there's a certain comfort and familiarity with that because you know what's coming next and you
Hmm.
might base your movements around that, whether it's conscious or unconscious. But when it's improvised, you don't know what's coming next. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's an interesting thing to play with movement wise.
Okay. Do the plants follow basic rules of music? Do they play in like time signatures and rhythms, or do they follow formats of songs, or is the entire song just kind of improvised and somewhat creative, chaotic sort of experience?
Well, there is the input of the people who've designed the plant wave.
Mm.
So they have chosen pretty harmonic instruments.
Hmm.
I subscribe, so I feel like I get about 20 different, they call them instruments, but it's like combinations of sounds. So one is called sound bath. So that's singing bowls, chimes, and gongs.
Hmm.
And they will have pitched these instruments so that they all sound good together, but it's different every time. And like sometimes if there's not enough light, it will just be like a one note. It won't be harmonic. So I actually have had to, I have a little spotlight for my plant that's playing the tunes. I've got a grow light just to make sure that that plant is getting a little bit of extra boost so it sings nicely for us. But yeah, you can kind of pick your mood. Like there's another, say, instrument on the plant wave called Thursday Afternoon. And that's all the instruments that Brian Eno used in the Thursday Afternoon album. So if that's the vibe that you're feeling, you can
Okay.
choose that one.
How cool. Um, so these plants. I mean, it sounds like this is a really cool way to listen to and to communicate with them. Like you're getting messages when they're not getting lights. You realize that they're not going to sing or produce the music that you're listening to. So you now are getting them grow lights. And this came about, it sounds like, through your practice of yoga. So the practice of yoga led into you connecting with music through this. And now you use this as a way to communicate with your plants. Another way, these connections just keep growing.
Yeah, and they do respond. Like if you stroke their leaves, like, it will change the tune, and if you give them a drink, it will change the tune. And they
Well, so
actually
you can
eat.
listen to this in real time.
It's all real time.
Wow.
It's live. Yeah,
Okay. Okay,
you
so
can
it's not
record
like
it as
they're
well.
yeah, so it's happening and so as you're touching or talking to the plant, you're getting the audio stimulus from it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Because there's so many times I'm sitting here with the plant and I'm just like, I'm missing the message here. I'm trying to figure out what it is that this plant needs. And I'm experimenting and nothing seems to be working. I'm just like, what do I have to do to listen here? And there it is. You've figured out a great way to listen to these guys.
And sometimes it's really beautiful. Like sometimes, say, like a sunbeam will shine through the window, and you'll just hear the plant like play a little flourish, or like a different instrument will chime in. Like you can really get that sense of it. It's beautiful. There's
Yeah.
actually even I haven't used them because I haven't had any like live mushrooms in my environment, but there's special sensors that are for mushrooms as well.
Yeah, I would love to play around with it. This sounds like such a cool experiment here.
It's really cool.
Because when you really build the relationship with plants, like when you really care for them and you listen to them and you see like what they need and how to care, how to provide the nurturing for them that they need, you really start to establish a connection and a relationship, and there's a bit of an exchange there. um I could just see this taking it to another level where like you're in the room even without that and you can really hear them in some ways, but now you can take direct messages and apply it to your practice while you're hanging and doing all your stretches.
Or even while you're just lying in the hammock vibing.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
beautiful for meditation as well.
What's your internal experience like? Like, what are some places that you, or what are some things that you experience while you're doing this meditation, while you're hanging in the hammock versus, say, sitting on a mat?
Well, I'm someone who I don't like being uncomfortable. So if I'm sitting on the mat, first thing as soon as I start getting uncomfortable, that's what I'll focus on. So often
Mhm.
I'll kind of wiggle around a lot,
Sure.
and um, that will feel like a barrier to
Hmm.
getting to those deeper states.
Definitely a
But
barrier
when I
threshold.
feel really comfortable
Hmm.
and supported, it feels like it's taken a massive distraction
Hmm.
out of the puzzle, and I can be in my body without
Hmm.
any of those like little niggles or things that I want to fix or change or
Yeah.
readjust.
You can get deeper faster and easier.
Exactly.
Terrific.
Yes.
So what's it like when you're up there? So, I think that what you just described is like the first stage of meditation for so many people is you start sitting and you close your eyes and you start to focus your attention inward, and then an emotion comes up or a physical sensation or an itch comes up, and it's immediately grabbing your mind, or your mind is grabbing onto that. And it's this big threshold. And for a lot of us, we'll spend, I mean, I might spend the whole session there. It might be 30 minutes, it might be an hour, it might be 2 hours of me just sitting there, and it's like, "Okay, my mind has gone to that itch or that ache and then bring it back," and this is the whole practice. But it sounds like you found a way to get right past that by being comfortable here. What happens here? Where do you go next?
Well, then there's the moments of being in that and being present and just having that soft, open awareness of, like, say, the sensations you feel in the body and noticing
Mhm,
your breath and the sounds. And then a little thought from your day will pop up, and kind of noticing that, settling back in. And I do think that this meditation time, if like a deeper thing comes up, like sometimes it's a idea, sometimes it's a solution to something that you've been puzzling over. like, it's also time where you can be with that and you can kind of follow that through to its conclusion, because I think it is important to have space for ourselves where we can, like, feel into these deeper thoughts, these deeper layers of who we are, like, to have that awareness of a different perspective on something that might have happened. There are the brief moments where maybe you do just feel connection and presence, and maybe some people would see the sounds as an external distraction. But I feel like sometimes as well, when you're really feeling the sounds, like, that can be a really, like, transcendently beautiful moment. So there's,
Feeling the
for me, it's all
sounds.
of it.
Yeah, this sounds really peaceful. And you're talking about feeling things and getting insights. You were talking about the altering your vestibular experience earlier. So I like the orientation, things moving around. It sounds like this is a really can be a very introspective place where you can really connect with yourself and you can see the things that are going on in your life, the physical feelings of them, the emotions, what's stored in your body, and then you're getting insights on that. What do you do with all of this that comes up?
Well, actually, Jivana Hayman has a really, he's a inspiration for me and one of my teachers. Like, then you choose where you direct that energy.
Mm,
And it could be directing it back to yourself. Like, if you
hmm.
deplete it, if you feel depleted, if you feel like you need this practice to refill your own cup, to refill your energetic battery, consciously redirect that practice back to yourself. But it can be really powerful to mindfully choose where you're going to direct your energy after your practice. Like, maybe you send it to someone you love who you know is struggling. Maybe you, like, consciously choose to go back out into the world and do something with that energy that you've cultivated. And I think that that can be another aspect of yoga practice, to have a clear sense of what you want to do in the world, how you want to respond to things rather than being in a reactive state.
Yeah. Do you see people making changes in their life outside of the yoga practice when they start doing it?
So I don't see it, but I hear about it later.
Uh-huh.
And it's not unusual that someone would be in my class for ages, for months and months, and then afterwards, they might have come to me and said, like, "Oh, like, I just wanted to let you know how grateful I was for this practice. Like, I was going through my divorce, or I was going through this really intense thing at work, and this was the breathing space that I needed in my week." And sometimes people have even shared how those little decisions that we make in class, those little check-ins, that practice of tuning into what you need for your mind and body is a skill been able to apply in some bigger life decisions out of the hammock and off the
Yeah.
mat. And that's really amazing.
Yeah. I mean, being in tune with what you're feeling and being aware of what you do with that and the things that are causing what you're feeling, and then being able to make choices. These are like some of the best skills that you can have in life. So yeah, I can see how important and impactful that would be for people. And I was just thinking, when you were talking earlier about getting on the hammock and you start to feel the areas where you feel the pain, like for somebody who sits at a computer or works in an assembly line, like my cousin works on the assembly line for Stellantis. And yeah, man, dude seems like he's always kind of hurt and people get killed on those lines. It's intense. And then, that builds day in and day out. You just get so used to it and it just gets internalized and stored in the body. And then you just get numb to it, or you numb to it intentionally so that way you don't have to deal with it. And this sounds like just such a great way, like a mirror, to really show people the patterns in their life and how it's affecting them, and that you can do something different.
And also, you can experience, like, play and pleasure
Yes.
and fun through movement, which we don't
Yes.
necessarily get that many opportunities to do as adults.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that, Joe. Actually, I think this is one of the things that we really need to recover as being humans, as a species, is we have lost our ability to play. And as like a compensation for that, which play, by the way, is like crucial not just for development, but it's crucial for our social structures and how we engage and interact with each other. We see it through all the animals out there. Like I have so many squirrels outside of my house, outside of my door right here. I'm talking like societies and families, and they all have their own little practice, and they all engage with each other, and they play with each other, and they have fun. And we have lost that. So getting back to this, I think, is crucial. Talk to me about the practice of play on the hammock.
Well, like a lot of movements from, say, a playground, like a swinging movement, like that's
Yes.
a vestibular system movement. So for most people, like a very soft, gentle swing, like rocking chair level, would be a soothing vestibular movement. And a bigger swing would be more of a stimulating movement, which sometimes we need for regulation. So there is like just a swing, which if you can sit in a chair, you can sit in a swing. The only
Hmm.
people who don't like it are people who have like really sensitive vestibular systems and get motion sickness. So that
Hmm.
would not be their choice of
Yeah.
play. But also like the flips that are possible as well that are quite safe. And as long as you've got enough kind of confidence in your grip strength, nothing bad's going to happen if you don't fully execute it. You'll just either make your way all the way over or you'll just land back where you started from. Even to the wiggly movements in the hammock, playing with that kind of movement can be really fun. The spinning movements as well. You can wind yourself up and then the hammock will unspin you. That's also another one where like some people really love that and some people don't. There tends to be a lot more laughter in aerial yoga classes, and that's just spontaneous and yeah, just the ability to like, move in a way that feels good, to have fun with it. Sometimes there is um, a framework, like a particular movement that we might be working on executing, like, say, the flip. But sometimes it is just like a position where I'll give, like, you can hang out here and just explore different ways that you can move from this position because there's a lot of ways you can wrap the hammock where you'd be pretty safe as you move in every direction. Sometimes I even have it at knee height off the ground. And so you're sitting in it kind of like a chair. And then there's lots of ways you can move from there. And I think it's a good way of dismantling a hierarchy of a teacher telling you what's best in your body and what you should do and making it more collaborative. Some like people will have ideas that I haven't had. They can try it, they can share it with the group. So
Yeah.
there's like that creative group energy as well. Or maybe I will have found one of those new movements. I'll share that and then I'll just put it out. I'll be like, well, where can we go from here? Like, what other things could we do from this shape?
How do you structure your classes? I'm curious, as somebody who has also taught like a physical course like this. How do you structure your classes that incorporate this play and then has the feedback so people are bringing these things up and showing you something new?
I think it helps that I have small classes. So I have
About how many
6
people?
as my maximum in
6.
an aerial yoga class.
Yeah,
I
that's very
generally
helpful.
always start with the spine movements, the supported spine movements, whether it's
Hmm.
fully in the hammock or if someone is sensitive to motion sickness, they'll work from the floor with either just their legs or just their upper body in the hammock. So one part of them is stable on the ground. I do have the basic framework of I want to move the spine in every direction, forward bending, back bending, side bending, and twisting. I want to do something for shoulders because everyone needs something for shoulders. I want to
I
do
see.
something for hips. So I'll have a bit of a framework like that, but it's actually the way that my book is set out as well. For each pose, especially if you're translating a traditional yoga pose into the hammock, there's multiple ways you could do that. So that can be a way to adapt for different energy levels, what people have going on in their bodies. Say a lunge. One option is the hammock's wrapped around your back. You're holding it with your arms. So if you have got sensitive knees and going deep into a lunge isn't going to be good for you, you can be quite upright and use your arms for a lot of support and control how much you bend your knees. So
So
hopefully you can
you
still.
could stretch your legs out with the hammock and then use your hands as like the pressure is to increase the amount of stretching or pressure that's happening. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah, you can use your arms to carry some of your weight. So you can
Hmm.
really control what's happening in terms of how much you're using your legs. And it really helps your balance as well because you're holding on with both hands. So
Hmm.
that would be like a great option for someone who has balance or mobility challenges. For someone who wants a challenge with their balance or flexibility wise, you could then put one leg into the hammock. So then you've only got one foot on the ground, the other leg is bent. So you still have the same lunge action through your hips, but instead of both feet on stable ground and holding with your hands to help, now you've got one foot down, one leg has the ability to move. So you're working on keeping it steady. And you might still be holding on with your hands, especially if like that's a new balance experience for you. So you want to have a bit of extra support with that. Or once you've got that and you want to challenge your balance a bit more, that's when you could let go with your hands. So it's really like you can really vary the level of how much the hammock is helping you and how much it's making things more challenging for you balance wise. And like once your hands are free, then there's all these different arm and shoulder stretches that you might move into. And that's even an option when you're holding on. You can still hold it in different ways so you can explore different arm and shoulder positions. For all of these moves, you could ease in and ease out of it. And those are the kind of parameters that I might give people so that we're all lunging. But within that lunge, you can really choose whether you're keeping it steady, stable, holding firmly, or maybe you're adding arm movements. Maybe you're like going deeper and then easing out of the leg position. But I feel like there's enough group energy. We're all still lunging that it doesn't feel chaotic. But there is that space for individual exploration. And that's often the way that I'll do things. I'll kind of have a move in mind, I'll share some different options, and then I'll give people space to feel into their own experience within that.
Hmm. Do you find that certain moves or certain stretches or poses lead to certain internal experiences other than just like a physical feeling of stretching? Do you feel like they activate emotions or they activate specific mental patterns?
Yes. And inversions are the most dramatic example of that because you're literally turning your world upside down. So for some people, that can be really scary. And for that reason, I always start low to the ground, make the muscle memory from there. Because if someone goes into that amygdala state of not feeling safe in a pose and maybe has a freeze response or wants to get out of that pose as fast as they can, they're not in a good state of mind to hear the steps that they need to get out of the pose safely. So I try and muscle memory those steps of how to get in and out of the pose when they're low to the ground so that they can practice it in a state where they feel safe so the information can be received and they know that they can get in and out of that shape because they've practiced it many times low. And then bringing it up high, it's just adding the extra element of being a bit higher in the air. So there's a lot of fear that can come up with inversions and with hanging in the air. And that can be powerful to work through that or to approach it at a level that feels right for you on that day. And for some people, that's a really gradual journey. And some people just don't like going upside down, and that's totally fine. And other people dive right in. So that can actually be a little bit more of a challenge to teach because I do actually want people to learn the steps to get in and out of the pose safely. I don't necessarily want them to like hurtle into it, into this unknown territory and like I want people to be safe because that's my responsibility as a teacher. But I think some people are just upside down kids. So they love being upside down. It's really fun for them. It's really free for them. They want to move around when they're there, maybe turn themselves in a circle. So like you definitely see people's inner child come out in that way. And then some people as well are really thoughtful. Like there's a lot of yoga poses that are about directing energy up the spine, whether like if chakras is a landmark for you, to those higher energy centers in the mind. There's varying thoughts about what's happening physiological, whether more oxygenated blood gets to the brain when you're upside down. There's a more evidence base for the baroreceptor reflex response, which is more something that would work at a lower height. So if just say your hips are a little bit elevated, your heart's above your head, because your body does not need to put as much energy into pumping blood up to the brain, everything slows down. Like your nervous system relaxes, you might feel your breath slowing down, you might feel yourself slowing down mentally, and it doesn't happen quickly, it takes a while. There's not as far as I know, there's not research as to how long it takes, but like a few minutes. So, or like maybe up to 5 minutes or longer. For me, that's beyond the time that I want to be in a full suspended inversion. Like that just feels like too much blood to my head, too much head pressure for me. So like a lower supported inversion is perfect for that, to kind of slow down and to settle in. And because you are in a position where you also see the world from a different angle, and like when our bodies lie down and settle in, that's also a message to the brain that we're not going towards action. We're going towards relaxation. So there's that layer to it as well. And for some people, it is that fully suspended inversion. Like they do want to stay there for a longer time, like over 5 minutes, to get into that really calm, really present state, to kind of feel things, to feel the distractions melting away, to feel their mind slowing down, to feel more in touch with their bodies. And I feel like that's 3 really different mind states. Like the state that's super excited and wants to play and wants to explore, the state that's kind of like fearful or intimidated to take on this really different way of being in the world and this new movement challenge, and to learn the trust in their body that they are going to be okay to get in and out and decide where they want to go to. But then also that more meditative, that more slowing down, that more down regulating state.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can have all 3 of those really at the same time.
In the same class. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is why it's so important to have people that you do this with, right? Because I mean, clearly you know these states and you know how to get to them, and ways to take steps to build safety and comfort with getting to them. So I think, a lot of people might jump right to, I'm going to go right into it and jump to the top. And then they have the panic response and say, okay, never doing that again. And this could have opened up so many wonderful doors if we just had just a little bit of support and guidance, or guidance in terms of how to do it.
Yeah. And actually, that is a safety thing that I put in my book. Like, ideally practice with a teacher, but I know there's many people who buy an aerial yoga hammock on the internet and want to practice at home on their own. Like there's not a
Yeah.
lot of aerial yoga teachers. There maybe isn't one nearby. So even if you're not practicing with a teacher, have someone else home. Like have someone else in the house or in the room. So if you need assistance, like someone can come help you, because you might get confused upside down. There are some poses that take more strength to get out of than what they do to get into. So you might need a rescue. I've even got a aerial yoga friend who's a teacher, and she's like, sometimes I just put my phone in my bra. So if I'm practicing on my own and I need help, like she lives on her own, at least I can call someone. So yeah, like teacher is ideal. Like practice buddy is fine as well. Like it could be a friend or it could just be someone that you live with in your house. But things can happen. And I don't tend to do these aerial yoga poses because they're not my favorite. Like I find them uncomfortable, but there are definitely some of the more intricate ones where it can be a little bit tricky how to get out of them. Like maybe you've got the hammock wrapped around your legs multiple times and you've climbed quite high up, and then one direction will wrap you more, the other direction will unwind you. But if you haven't clearly thought about that as you're getting into the pose, sometimes when you're up there, it can be a little bit tricky to be like, oh, wait, which way do I go to get out of this again?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You don't want to get stuck.
No, you don't want to get stuck.
What advice would you have for somebody who's wanting or considering getting started in doing some acro yoga?
So I do aerial yoga.
I'm sorry,
Acro
aerial yoga.
yoga is the one where it's another person underneath you.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So I think like Googling is a good way to start to see if there is a studio near you. And like different studios have really different vibes. So some are more circusy, some are more yoga-y. Like some pole dance studios have aerial hammocks as well. So like choose a studio that feels like it's a good fit for what you want to work on and have a look at the comments, like see what other people going to those classes say. You could buy my book and read more about it that way as well. And I have tried to structure things so that everything I've shared in the book, I feel, is safe to practice at home. Like I've tried to structure it so that it can be for teachers to teach multi-level groups, or it can give you the tools to be your own teacher. But have a practice buddy home as well. And I actually have found that a lot of what I've learned in chair yoga and in accessible yoga has very much informed with how I teach in the hammock. So if the fabric itself isn't what's speaking to you, but finding a practice that meets you where you're at, that incorporates the philosophy through movement, but has space for all kinds of different bodies, all kinds of different minds, then I would also look in the accessible yoga direction. And that's really where I've got a lot of tools and also inspiration for how I structure my classes to meet everyone where they're at.
Terrific. Where can people find your book and more information about you and your practice?
Oh, thank you. So I'm at gardenofyoga.com.au. You can find my book on my website. It's published by Singing Dragon. It's going to be coming out in April. So you can order it online. You can pre-order it now. And highly recommend you order it from your local independent bookstore. They can get it in for you. And if you want to practice with me online, I do Zoom classes as well as in-person classes, not for aerial yoga because that's more than what my brain can navigate. One-on-one aerial yoga, yes, but not group aerial yoga classes online. But I do my mat-based classes online. And I also do my own podcast called the Flow Artist Podcast. My husband Ran co-hosts, and we speak to a lot of different people from different backgrounds, activists, yoga people, artists, and I don't tend to talk about philosophy as much in my classes. Like I try and just let people have space for their own experience and more embody the philosophy rather than preaching about it. Hopefully, that's my goal. But on the podcast, where it's all talking, that is really where I get to explore those aspects of yoga a lot more. And I feel like in class, for me, it's more of the internal experience for the participants. And I don't want to make people's brains too busy by giving
Yeah.
them a lot of other stuff to think about. Like I want to give them that space to be in their bodies and to have that space to be with themselves.
Mm-hmm. Terrific. Is there anything you want to share before we part ways? Any last messages?
I guess just to swing back to what we were talking about at the start of our conversation, I hope everyone out there is finding ways to find peace, but also to do what we can to support each other and to create positive change in a world that can feel a bit hopeless and a bit relentless sometimes, whether it's through donating money, through protesting, through contacting your government, through making art, whatever it is for you that feels like it could be making a small change in a positive direction. Um, yeah, I hope that you have the energy and the space and the capacity to do that, because I think that's what we need individually and also what our world needs right now.
Thank you very much. It's been lovely chatting with you.
Thanks, Julian. So great to talk.